I say you want to be starting something. You got to be starting something. So you want to be starting something. Got to be starting something. Too hard to get over.
Yeah.
Too low to get up.
Yeah.
Too low to get up. You stuck in the middle.
Yeah.
And it's been this thunder. Too hard to get over. Too
Yeah.
hard. Too low to get under.
Yeah.
And the pain is thunder. I took my baby to the doctor with the fever the doctor get down. It's the breakdown. Some of his lying. Oh, us the still like lying. You just want to be starting something. That's the one you be starting something. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Sabby and Jaybe show on Revolutionary Blackout Network. The Sabby and Jaybe show is every single Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you guys have not already, please make sure to give us a like. I am one of your hosts, Jaybe. Sabby Sabs, what's up?
What's up, Jaybe?
Good to see you and good to see all of you here on this beautiful Thursday evening. Come on in, have a seat, grab a drink. I got my tea. I hope you guys got yours too. We're about to have a conversation. So just to let you guys know, if you guys have not already, you guys can also go to our Substack, join our mailing list at revolutionaryblackout.substack.com so you guys are aware whenever we go live or upload clips. And if you guys would like to email us with any news stories or anything pertaining to business inquiries only, then you guys can go to info@revblacknetwork.com. And if you guys have not already, you guys can also go to our website at revolutionaryblackoutnetwork.com. So thank you so very much for that. If you guys have not we also raise money for our graphics designers. So if you guys would like to, you guys can contribute by going to Venmo at Revolutionary Blackout or Cash App $Mutual Aid Forever. And so thank you so very much for that. And in addition to, and furthermore, I typically say hello to the guests, but I want to be respectful of our guest that is with us today. He is I want to make sure that I get the title right. He is the author of the Chronicles for Black Political Power, and as well as a member of the Orlando RBN chapter. We have Katie Lewis joining us for this discussion this evening. Good to have you on RBN finally.
JB Savvy, thank y'all for having me on. It's good to be here.
Yes, definitely. So one of the things that we wanted to talk about, because you actually put out articles for the Chronicles for Black Political Power that actually touched on some of the things that we as Black people definitely speak about on Revolutionary Blackout Network, is when it comes to misleadership. So I'm going to share what we're going to be talking about this evening, because I think this is very important, especially because today is the first day of Black History Month. So we're talking about misleadership. So we have people like Tyler Perry, Jim Clyburn, Stacy Abrams, and the big O herself, Oprah Winfrey. And so it's just like, I keep going back to the phrase of what Malcolm X said about leaders. I would play it, but I think it's kind of copywritten, so I don't want to risk the channel. But I want to ask you first, and then I'll go to Sabby. What is your opinion of the quote-unquote leadership that we have within the United States among Black community?
Yeah, so I would say that our leadership or our misleadership is very much white identified with a veneer of Black culture to sort of hide that identity. They sort of play an apologetic position for our institutions, and they do that because they're the ones that, they made it. They're the good ones. They're the ones that did the right thing. And so they have this unhealthy faith in these institutions without really recognizing that these institutions continually hurt the masses of of our people. So that's how I initially, my initial feelings on our leadership.
What about
Mhm.
you, Sab? What about the Black misleadership that, in your opinion?
I feel the same way too. I mean, I also feel like a lot of these individuals, some of the ones that you might see on the thumbnail, a lot of them are what we will refer to as the Black Boule,
Mhm.
right? A lot of them come from that particular group, meaning that like these are the people that they rubbed the right shoulders and elbows to get to where they are. Some of them came from like Greek organizations, like fraternal Greek organizations, and they kind of moved up, in the ranks and stuff there. And if you look at a lot of the Black politicians that we have in this country, that's exactly where they came from. So some people refer to them as being part of like the Black Boule, and that's how they get to where they are. So like you don't become vice president. So Kamala Harris, you don't become vice president just because you did a good job. You don't become senator just because you were a good lawyer and you campaigned well. These people rub, elbows with the right people at the right time to get those spots. So working hard isn't enough to gain you that spot.
Mm. Thank you very much for that. And in fact, I loved how you segue into that, because that is actually something that I wanted to actually go into one of Katie's articles. This one is titled "Black Political Power: The Devaluation." Uh, the de-evolution of Black political leadership. And then one of the things that you actually talk about is the Black Boule. This paragraph says the fight for civil rights existed since the fall of the Reconstruction era. However, the actual movement commemorated every February contained prominent leaders who were members of the Black Boule, such as the invoked leader, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. So this goes to show that, and from what I can see, is that there is a set of us who it's not necessarily wrong that you're in, say, the Black Boule. It's what you do with it with when you're in it that I observe. And so that's kind of, where I fall as well.
And
Um, Sorry, go
I
ahead.
was going to say, like Marcus from the Political Matrix, him and Chris have talked about this often about the Black Boule, and it's really true, you guys. Like, I'm sorry, like I wish I could sit here and say that if you work hard, then success will follow. No, it's not just about working hard, because if that were the case, everyone who works hard, and a lot of people in this country do, they would have that same level of success. It's about networking. It's about knowing the right people at the right time, being in the right place at the right time, and also being a part of the status quo. This is why, if you notice, like no real like Black radicals actually make it to those spots. They don't make it to a VP spot. They don't become president of the United States like Barack Obama did. They're very much a part of the status quo, and they're very much there to basically keep things the way that they are, not to really improve it.
Yeah, Cam, if you can also reflect on what Sabby just said, especially in regards to the connections portion, especially among colleges.
Yeah. So I've been reading one of Fraser's books called the Black Bourgeoisie, and it touches on the academia pathway of how the Negro race was able to elevate themselves, but in the elevation, they had to really abandon sort of all aspects of the Negro masses, be it if they went to an institution that was purely a puritanical culture, or if they had to adjust and be more big business focused, capitalist focused. Um, with how Sabby put it, that knowing the right people, being in the right spaces, that's the crux of how a lot of these societies work, Greek organizations work. I mean, me being a part of one myself, I've seen firsthand that's how that works. Our connections are vital to our existence as the Black bourgeoisie, but it's never expanded out to the masses, because that would then go against the status quo that the bourgeois and the Black bourgeois protect, and that's through academia and our higher up professional pathways of work.
Yeah. And another thing too, like some people will use the excuse and they'll say, well, Kamala Harris went to Howard University, right? And they'll say that's a Black school. Yes, but Howard University is also, it's HBCU, it's a private school. And even at Howard University, again, a lot of those people end up being a part of like the Black boule. So you look at some of the famous people and prominent politicians that went to Howard or Morehouse or Spelman. So it's not even necessarily that you have to go to a PWI, a predominantly white institution. This exists at Black institutions as well.
Yeah, and I just wanted to share this because one of the things that I caught my eye about a day ago was I didn't know this, and this came out in 2022, so this is not even new news. But when I found this, I was just like, "What?" And this shared. This is the person who this is actually sharing this now. That's why I was able to see this. But this is Isaac Barnes. And this actually came out. He says, dreams come true. He says, 39-year-old Black entrepreneur makes history, awarded $13.4 billion defense contract. It says, meet Isaac Barnes, the young founder and president of Eminent Future, whose Black-owned tech firm has been awarded a $13.4 billion defense contract with the U.S. Air Force and the U.S. Space Force. Isaac is a marvel reminiscent of young Black leaders transcending generations of relevant and personable individuals who have made such an extraordinary mark in history. I want to ask both of you, and I'm going to start off with Sabby for this one. Is this truly a victory, or is it okay? Who is this a victory for? Is this a victory for us as Black people, or is this a victory for the empire?
It's a victory for the empire and the military industrial complex. But of course, this article, they're trying to pass it off as though it's a victory for Black people. And they see it as though like we should be happy, this happened for this young Black man, not realizing like what this actually means. I mean, it's defense, right?
Mm-hmm. Kim, your thoughts?
Yeah, I definitely think this is a win for him and his immediate circle. I've never believed that Black capitalism, at least post my political awakening, I never believed that Black capitalism was an avenue for Black liberation. And the fact that he is not only participating in his own capitalism and it's being sold to us as something that's a win for us, his capitalism is in service of empire. And it's sort of like it's a double-edged sword there. Yeah.
Yep.
Of course. So one of the things that I wanted to bring attention to, I saw that a reply to this. This person says the diaspora become the new colonizers, blood money. And it's like, even though this guy seems either white or white passing, he's kind of out of pocket, but he's right. Like, I'm sorry, but like, if you're trying to say, well, this is a victory for us, I'm like, no, bro, this is not a victory to any of us, because what you are creating will now be used against your own people and bombing Black and brown people within Western Asia and then throughout the entire whole of Africa.
And the problem is that defense is deeply entrenched in corporate America. And a lot of people, you may not even realize that a company that you work for also has defense contracts. Like, one of the things for the pro-Palestinian protests, one of the reasons why the students actually staged a walkout at Boston University and some of these other universities a couple of months ago is because they did their research and they found out a lot of these universities also have defense contracts that are making these bombs to bomb people in Gaza. Like, it's so deeply entrenched. It's like if you look at the company Honeywell, which makes those little space heaters that some of us use sometimes, Honeywell also is a part of defense. Like that's why I continue to say there's no ethical consumption under capitalism, because you may not directly work for a defense contractor, or you may not, directly, I guess you may not think you directly benefit from a defense contractor, but we all do, because it's just so deeply embedded in our society, at least in this country. I can't necessarily speak for other countries, but there's a lot of businesses that have defense contracts. Even YouTube, and I talked about this before, even YouTube donates to the military industrial complex. Google donates to the military industrial complex. That's what I'm saying. There's no ethical consumption under capitalism. So until you get rid of capitalism, we're always going to have this issue.
And the defense contract. Oh, I'm sorry. I was gonna say the defense contractors also have that connection to academia as well with college recruitment. I'm an alum of Florida A&M University, and another HBCU, and I was a part of their engineering school. And the big names that would always show up would be Northrop Grumman, Boeing, Lockheed Martin, Honeywell, Caterpillar. There was a lot of them see us as a recruiting ground that also help feed into the diversity building. Like they would like to come to these Black schools to get more of the aspiring Black bourgeois into these defense companies, and it's been working, and unfortunately.
Same thing with Boeing. Like if you live in certain parts of South Carolina, Boeing is the only employer in town. And that's another thing. So it's like, what do you do if you can't go work for these people? Like, how are you supposed to get a job? And so this is another thing I think a lot of people just may not understand, is that the military industrial complex is deeply embedded in this country. And for some people, depending on where you live, that's the only game in town. Just same thing with Amazon. Whereas Amazon warehouses have kind of just taken over. You go to some of rural parts in this country, particularly some of the smaller towns where all of the other small businesses have basically been wiped out because the Amazon warehouse was built. And now it's like, not everybody necessarily wants to go work for Amazon, but they're the only people there now. So what do you do?
Mm-hmm. Yep. And just as an aside, not only are all of us in whatever we partake in, also, close, indirectly connected to the military industrial complex, we're also all closely connected to slavery in some way. I actually did a video about it, how slavery touches your life today. And I think a lot of people don't realize that. And I think that's really important, because slavery, including slavery that still exists down to this day, touches our lives on a daily basis. So that's also really important.
Same thing for cell phones, by the way. Same thing for cell phones. This is why I say there's no ethical consumption under capitalism. Because this is the thing, is everybody supposed to get rid of their phones?
No. They make it so that it's almost impossible to want to end it, because our lives will somehow be more inconvenienced by it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So one of the things that I wanted to share also was this. This was a video, and while we're talking about leadership, Black people who are leadership, I wanted to share this. This is the DNC chair, Jamie Harrison, talking about voting and Biden within the Black community. Let's take a look.
Numbers that we keep getting when we're talking about communities of color, Black voters.
By the way, shout out to Case Study QB doing the damn thing. Sorry.
Especially, we're critical to Joe Biden's success in 2020. There seems to be a real generational divide. I was at that barbershop. Mm-hmm. You had an engaged constituency, but they were almost exclusively older Black voters. Do you see a problem here with the way this campaign is reaching out to or resonating with young Black voters?
I think, this is something that in politics, and I think you see in religion as well, is understanding that young people are getting their information in a different way.
Yeah.
that young people are processing their support in a different way. They're not so much tied to institutions, but they're more aligned with what their values are.
Yeah.
And so that is forcing the political parties to begin to change the way that they reach out to those young folks. And so the Biden campaign understands that. That's why the $25 million at the end of last quarter to begin to have those conversations on social media, in the mediums in which young people are.
Do you think it's just the medium, or do you think that there's a problem with the message? And I'll ask you specifically about the president's support of Israel and the war in Gaza, which anecdotally and from some reporting has really hurt him in really important communities of color, whether they're Arab American, Black American, people who have been historically oppressed, who see Palestinians as oppressed as well, and do not like the position this president has taken.
Well, I think when you think about where the president is, for him, he is putting on his head as commander in chief, and he has to do what's in the best interest of our security as a country, and also our partnership with our allies. And so sometimes politically that may not always be the most resonant thing, but in the end of the day, we have to understand that these elections are about contrast. The president often says, don't compare me to the almighty, compare me to the alternative. We know under Donald.
Hold up. Sabs, Cam, Katie, can you guys, I don't know.
So I'm very familiar with, I'm very familiar with Jayme, because I have family in South Carolina. Jayme, what you guys got to know is like, this was, again, he's another one that was, again, a part of the Black Boule. He was handpicked. He basically gained notoriety by running against Lindsey Graham, which he knew he was not going to win that race in South Carolina. I could have told you that. But basically his reward in doing that was for the DNC to make him the chair of the DNC. So he's another one. He's part of the status quo. He tried to come across and make it seem like he was somewhat progressive, but he's not. He's establishment, definitely supports status quo, military industrial complex. In this statement here, when he said that Joe Biden is doing what's best for the security of the United States. No, Joe Biden is doing what's best for the military industrial complex. He's doing what's best for weapons contractors. Jayme Harrison is not going to say that because he also does the same thing. So what they do, like MSNBC, they'll bring on people like Jayme Harrison, and pay attention to the Black people that they bring on. Jayme Harrison, Al Sharpton, right? They'll bring on Charlemagne, who doesn't even host a political show to begin with. That's a whole other thing we could get into, right? So they'll bring on these people, Jim Clyburn. They always bring on, again, people who are part of the Black Boule, who are there and they're in those spots on purpose. And that is to mislead Black communities. The problem is, for the most part, it's not working with younger Black people. A lot of the people that are still buying into this typically are older Black voters. We talked about this before, Jaybe, with the Black church. A lot of times that's why they go there, try to get the Black pastor and the older congregation. Those are the people who are still going out and supporting the status quo, policies, et cetera. And a lot of younger Black people are not. And now they see that because Joe Biden actually had young support in 2020, which really helped him win a state like Georgia, now they're starting to see, because Joe Biden has lost that support from the young people, now they realize, oh crap, maybe those young voters actually do matter. Maybe we actually do need them, even though we say they don't come out and support the way that they could. I'd push back on that. When young people are passionate about certain policies and issues, we do come out, just like we came out for Bernie Sanders in 2016. If it wasn't for the pandemic, I would argue more young people would have came out for Bernie in 2020. And don't forget, Barack Obama had amazing support from young Black voters. No other Democrat presidential candidate has had the amount of support from young Black people that Barack Obama had in 2008. So the thing is that it's not that they don't know how to communicate to younger Black people. It's that younger Black people have peeped the game.
Katie, can you, because Jayme is really talking about you and your generation.
Mm-hmm.
Why is he wrong?
He's wrong in just about everything that he's doing here. Even his tactic of using protection of the security of the nation. These are talking points that work with people who fell for the Red Scare, that communism is evil. Those are arguments that work on older people. You can't use those arguments on people who have been taught a whole bunch about colonialism, about oppressive groups, and tell us that the occupations that we are doing overseas isn't somehow for our protection, when our protections are already under threat by our own leaders in this country. Our leaders want to expand the police state. Our leaders are the ones that are pushing more people into lives of destitution, homelessness. Our leaders are the ones that are criminalizing homelessness. Like, there's this giant disconnect that they think they could use these same old talking points of America is good, so just trust me, bro, and that they can't that's not going to work on us, because they're the ones that taught us the wrong things to peep, and then just thought that once we got into a certain age that we would just fall in line with empire as the generation before us did. And that's not the case this time.
Sure. All right, let's continue and let's finish this video out.
Donald Trump, this is a man who from day one wants to put a Muslim ban, from day one believes that he should be a dictator, from day one believes that immigrants are poisoning the blood of America. Joe Biden's a good man. He's a decent man. He's always going to try to do the right thing based off of his experience and the wisdom that he has and the relationships that he has. And so
absolutely not. That is wrong as hell. Hang on. Let me get off me. That is so wrong. It's not even funny. Don't even laugh, because the thing is that this is the same man. I'm sorry, I'm getting fired up now. This is the same man that helped co-write the 94 crime bill that was signed in by Bill Clinton. This is the same guy that said that he didn't want his kids to grow up in a racial jungle. Meanwhile, his son is still smoking crack. So don't come at me. Do not come at me and say, well, he's a good and decent man. Ask Tara Reid how good and decent he really is.
Mm-hmm.
Because nobody wants to talk about that. Everybody wants to talk about... Sorry, go ahead.
Or Anita Hill.
Or Anita Hill. Nobody wants to talk about that.
No, it all comes down to rhetoric. It all comes down to rhetoric. That's all people care about. He makes me feel good, therefore he's a good man. Nice.
Yes. This man is a monster. And for anybody who thinks or says that he's a good and decent man, look, you smoking something, and whatever it is, I can't say on YouTube. Oh, let's continue.
Relationships that he has. And so he is also engaging with the communities that want different policies to say, listen, I want to hear from you. I want to talk with you. I want to figure out ways that we can work together in order to move this forward. And
he's saying that to the corporations. You know what? Get out of my face, Jimmy. He's saying that to the corporations. That's basically what it is. He's not saying that to us. Remind me of what he said again when he had all those black leaders on a Zoom call and he was yelling at them.
Now's not the time.
Oh, that's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Now's not the time. That's what we're always told. Now's not the time. Hell, what is Joe Biden's position on reparations?
None.
Anyone?
None. Speaking of reparations, though, by the way, Jamie Harrison, the gentleman in that video, he was the same one that ran away from the black woman in South Carolina that asked him about reparations for Friedman.
Mm-hmm.
He ran away because he didn't want to answer her question, because remember, Jim Clyburn said, vote for Joe Biden. We know Joe and Joe knows us. Mm-hmm. So her point was, you're the one, you and Jim Clyburn, you guys were the ones that told people in South Carolina to vote for Joe Biden. And he's not doing anything for the black community. And she's like, he's giving things to other people, but not giving anything to us. And Jamie Harrison ran off the stage.
Cowards, man. Cowards. speaking of somebody that deserves to be ran off a stage, let's talk about Stacy Abrams, shall we? Stacy. Look.
Stacy.
Stacy I don't like. Stacy Dash and Stacy Abrams. Because the coonery is high among them. Let's take a look. Shout out to Sabby Sabs for sharing this with me. Let's go.
Let's play what Stacy Abrams said.
I do not believe it's because of a deep well of enthusiasm for my opponent. We know that Black voters are often discounted. And unfortunately, this year, Black men have been a very targeted population for misinformation, not misinformation about what they want, but about why they want what they deserve. And my campaign has been the only one that has very intentionally, thoughtfully, and consistently reached out. That has been misconstrued as concern when it indeed is just respect.
There's so much there. Okay, first of all, first things first. Misinformation is that what it is? When you say something like that, you act like we're just dumb and we are believing whatever we're told. If that's the case, then why didn't that work the last time we voted for you? Because you got to understand, there's been a dramatic drop off in the Black male vote for Stacey Abrams. I think it was over 90% last time or close to it. Now it's dipped down into the 80s or the low 80s. I think she's at 80% for Black men, but it may have been over 90% at one point or close to it. If y'all know the exact numbers, y'all let me know in the comments, but I know there's been a drop off for Black women. It's pretty much been the same. It's not really been much of a change. It's been right around the same, like 94, 95%, which is very high.
I'll chime in here.
Yeah.
After the poll results were released, after the vote took place, it was actually in the high 80s for Black men that came out and voted for Stacey Abrams, even though she tried to badmouth them and say that they were, spewing misinformation, or they just didn't understand. They weren't intelligent enough to understand what was going on. I get so sick and tired of that type of rhetoric. And so when you look at the data, it's actually white women that did not come out and heavily support Stacey Abrams. So you see how she went on this media press tour attacking Black men, saying, I'm not getting the support from Black men and yada, yada. And they still came out and supported her, despite her attacks. But when you looked at the numbers, it was white women who did not come out and support Stacey Abrams. That was why she lost. But she was out there attacking Black men. So again, this is why we put Stacey Abrams in the Black misleadership class. She's another one, Black Boule.
Yeah. Oh, that explains it. Katie?
I see this sort of like how there's this sort of cultural gender war, especially like on Black social media. I feel like that is now sort of trickled its way into the political sphere, to sort of make this divide and to separate Black men from the Black collective in regards to the political sphere is just it's counterproductive for sure. I will say that even though I like to see that the Black men have been peeping game with the Democratic Party, their direction still seems to stem into the other part of duopoly, which is a whole nother conversation entirely. But what Stacey Abrams is doing is sort of bringing that sort of cultural war and then making it political, and therefore dividing up that base even more. It's just, she'll be fine, but the rest of us are, left behind as usual.
Yeah, because dude with the thin blue line behind him that's just not it, bro. Right. Like, you could be correct on Stacey Abrams, but you supporting the cops. Come on, bro. That don't make no sense. Oh my goodness, get off the plantation, bro. So one of the things that I wanted to also bring to attention, because one of the biggest people that's on our thumbnail is the queen of all media herself, which people call Oprah Winfrey. I'm sorry, not people call, but that's her name. The big O, basically, right? So remember when a couple weeks back when you and I, Sabs, we talked about how the treatment of Taraji P. Henson and how she was being treated, how she was being underpaid, and how really Oprah could have set things right from the outset, but Taraji P. Henson actually had to make kind of an uproar about it in order for her to get paid more of what she's worth, right? Recently, it came out that Taraji P. Henson has now been blacklisted in Hollywood.
Wonder why. Oprah.
Beware of the big O. Let's take a look. It's just sad.
Ludacris warned people about Oprah too, by the way, guys. Ludacris tried to tell people that she does this to Black entertainers in the business. So.
Mm-hmm. Oh boy. Let's take a look then.
Hi, everybody. So I wanted to jump in here really quickly and talk about how Oprah Winfrey has literally gotten Taraji P. Henson blackballed from Hollywood. And not only did she get her blackballed, she used the same exact techniques that she did with comedian Monique. So let's get into it. Now
So first of all, let's get into that, because the thing is that what she did to Monique was just bad. Because even I was looking at Monique some kind of way until now. Now I'm reversed. I'm like, wait a minute. Monique got wrong, bro.
Yes.
Like Monique was right for saying what she said, for speaking out how she did. Like, nah, I'm team Monique now. I want to go back a few years and slap myself in the face for that.
Me too. Me too.
Maybe he was wrong. I'm gonna say, look.
Okay, you muted yourself.
Yeah, I got that passionate. But yeah, so that's the problem, right?
We hear you.
Can you guys still hear me? Am I?
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, so let's continue because I want to be respectful of Katie's time.
all know in Hollywood, you're only as good as your last film. We've heard that saying a million times, but it's the absolute truth in Hollywood. And what the saying means is if your last film was a hit, then you're a hit. You're celebrated by the town. But if it's a flop, no one wants to be associated with you. And that's because at the end of the day, nothing matters in Hollywood but money. Mix that with the fact that Hollywood is a good old boys network, meaning you can't even get your foot in the door if you don't know someone that can bring you in. I mean, it is what it is, people. You've got to be a part of the good old boy network.
Wait, what does that sound like again? What were you guys just talking about earlier?
Black Boule. It's all about who you know.
Smells like it.
Yep.
It's not what you know, it's who you know. If you don't know, now you know, you know.
And when Oprah was starting to make a name for herself in movies and films, her end was Harvey Weinstein. This is one of the reasons she remained quiet when he went through his allegation, because she didn't want to mess up her relationships with the studios. This is
Wait, she didn't say nothing. We didn't hear her say nothing.
No, sir. Well, it wasn't until Time's Up, that organization, was created. And then we found out that was actually like a Democratic Party psyop or something like that. Like it wasn't until that organization came out and then she spoke out and said, we're saying no more, time's up. But no, she was silent for a long time.
I guess all you got to do is just give an entire audience a new car, and then everyone just loves you for the rest of your life, no matter how people you are.
Yeah, Oprah didn't tell them they still had to pay taxes on those cars and all the other things that come along with that.
Yeah, Pontiac's not even around no more. Lord, Lord.
how she got Warner Brothers to invest $100 million into the musical The Color Purple, despite the fact that in this day and age, no one really likes musicals like that. I mean, this isn't the 50s when Fred Astaire was the talk of the town, but because she was a part of the Good Old Boys Network, they invested the money. So let's fast forward to Christmas 2023 when the movie was premiered. The film had an unbelievably huge opening, bringing in $18 million, making The Color Purple musical the second biggest Christmas Day opening of all time. Or at least that's the lie that they wanted us to believe. According to the rumors, the film actually made only $11 million. And the next day, the film took a bigger nosedive. It fell to 70% and grossed only $7 million. And the day after that, the film only made $3 million. So
wait a minute. I thought blockbuster movies were making 100 million plus. You mean to tell me it's only made like 11 million? That's not much to me.
That's because people didn't really have a desire to see this movie, Jaybe. I love the original Color Purple. I had no desire to see this movie because I feel like that's one of those movies you just don't touch. Don't try to remake it. Then when they remade it into a musical. And so it was just kind of like, and I get casting Fantasia. Fantasia was a part of Color Purple on Broadway. I don't know if people know this, but years ago, Fantasia she was Celie in The Color Purple on Broadway, right? So I understand why they cast her. But like I said before, it's some things don't need to be remade, and some things don't need to be remade into a musical.
They Hamilton The Color Purple.
They did.
Oh Lord.
Leroy said,
wait, I still don't have any desire. Oh no.
I told you.
Katie, have you ever seen The Color Purple?
I have not. I've heard of the book, the movie, and this one. I never really cared to like check it out. And then this is just a sign of Hollywood itself is just very lazy in the creative department, and you pick at certain stories like this to attract a specific audience. It's very lazy. It's propaganda and all that type of stuff that just goes into it. I view all this stuff as propaganda.
Gotcha. You told Harpo to beat me.
All my life I had to fight.
All my life I had to fight.
All my life.
My daddy, I had to fight with my brothers, I had to fight with my uncles. I lost Harpo. God knows I do. But I give him there. But let another man beat me.
Yeah, see, you already acted out. I don't need to see it.
We should do like a watch along or something like that. But yeah.
Numbers when they knew right away that the film was a huge flop. Well, isn't that the obvious? If we say what a great movie it is and what a big hit it is, this will encourage more people to run out feeling like they are missing out on something and watch the film. So while they were busy lying to the public, behind the scenes was a chaotic mess. That movie didn't even get close to making 100 million. Oprah knew right away someone had to take the hit. Someone had to be the fall guy, because whoever the fall guy is, there is absolutely no way that they're making another movie in Hollywood for some years. So Oprah gets a meeting with Warner Brothers, and right away she tells them Taraji P. Henson is the reason this film was a flop. She said she turned viewers away by talking about African Americans not getting paid what they're worth, and revealing about how poorly they were treated behind the scenes. There was no security. Everyone had to share a trailer, and how she almost didn't do The Color Purple because they didn't offer her enough money. Then she took a play out of.
Again, even before Taraji P. Henson came forward, when I saw the trailer of this at the movie theater, I said I had no desire to go pay and see this movie. It's just, like, you can't compete. Right. For those of you who saw the original Color Purple, and I read the book, Alice Walker's book, The Color Purple. For those of you who saw the original, you just can't compare the two. Like, Whoopi Goldberg, she's crazy as hell on The View. Her political takes are whack, but she did that damn thing. Mm-hmm. You believe that Whoopi was Celie, you know? Like, you believed that what's her name? Oprah was Sophia. Like, it was believable. You believe the characters. Some of the best performances that I've seen. You can't compete with that. You just can't. Everything doesn't need to be remade, Oprah. How about you make something new, okay? How about you stop taking something that was Alice Walker's work and try to recreate it? How about you come up with your own shit, okay? Sorry.
Damn, Sabs, tell us how you really feel. All right, let's continue.
The Monique playbook by saying that Taraji was difficult to work with and she wasn't a team player. Therefore, no one should really invest money into Taraji because she's a loose cannon. And when the studios pushed back, asking Oprah, why didn't you handle these problems when you first learned there was a problem? According to the rumors, Oprah said that she did, but she never knew what was going to come out of Taraji's mouth, even when she tried to fix the problem.
But it was the truth, though.
Mm-hmm.
That's my thing. It was the truth. So why are you mad that she's telling the truth about how Black people are treated? Because the thing is that literally you're like Oprah. You're literally a Black woman. So wouldn't you want your sisters to be treated better? So if she's laying it out for people so that people can put pressure on the studios, isn't that a good thing? Is it?
Mm-hmm.
Truth is never good for the people. So
Oprah said to Raji, how dare you bite the hand that feeds you? Also, this is more about Oprah's reputation. So anything that hurts her reputation, like she's going to take somebody down. She did this to Ludacris, you guys. I said this before, that Ludacris told people years ago that he didn't trust Oprah because she did something really shady to him, right? She told him to come on to the show to talk about Fast and the Furious. And then he said he got there and it was all these questions about, you know, why do you use these words in your songs and stuff like that, which was not what the interview was supposed to be about. And Ludacris said he warned people that Oprah has a tendency to throw particularly Black entertainers under the bus when they don't move the way that she feels that they should move. So this is why it's really important that a lot of times you got to stand on your own, right? This is why sometimes it's good not to have these alliances with other people. Like, don't try to have like Oprah, have an alliance with Oprah. Don't try to be friends with Oprah. Sometimes it's good for you to just be like, I'm doing my own thing. I don't really need to be a part of this friend circle of yours. Sometimes it's best to just stand on because you know, how many people, Oprah helped out a lot of people, right? So she helped out Dr. Phil. She helped out Dr. Oz. She helped out Marianne Williamson. All these people became well known because Oprah propped them up on her show. Then Dr. Phil and Dr. Oz got his own show. Gail got her own show at one point, and Marianne went on to run for office, right?
Susie Orman got her show too.
Yeah, and the thing is like, these people, you know, sometimes like they'll help you, but then at what cost? Because just because somebody helps you or helps put your name out there, does that mean that you have to bend to their every beck and call? So you got to be careful. You got to be careful with this stuff, man.
Yep, definitely. Cam, your thoughts?
Yeah, I just want to say that that's a very sick symptom of our system, that in order to have that pathway to prosperity, you have to have allegiance with these dastardly beings and entities, whether it be with Oprah specifically or through the MIC or all of that. You can't have a comfortable life here unless you have some sort of attachment to one of those evil entities. And that's a very, very sick truth to where we live.
Look at what's happening to Eric Adams now, Jaybe. The moment that he came out against Joe Biden, and he's not trying to be buddy with him anymore. And he said, look, this is some BS. You need to help us with the situation here in New York. Democratic Party turned on him. Now he got all kind of lawsuits coming his way. All of a sudden, all these lawsuits pop up against Eric Adams. And not to say that he's not guilty. We don't know. But it's really weird to me that it popped up after he called out Joe Biden in particular and his administration. So like I said, once you rub elbows with these people, they expect you to basically defend them at all costs, run cover for the dirt that they're doing. And the moment you turn away and you criticize them, you give them some type of critique, then all of a sudden it's, okay, we're coming after you now. And that's what's happening to Taraji P. Henson right now. That's what's happening to Eric Adams. So you can't rub elbows with these people, man.
Yep, and especially when we're speaking of rubbing elbows, KD, you put out this article as well, The Counterproductive Black Liberal, discussing how the liberal politics of the Black bourgeoisie impedes Black liberation. And so this was also a really good article talking about how, of course, back in the day, you had people like Malcolm X and MLK and many others that were actually using the Democratic Party as a vehicle for Black liberation. But it seems as though that the Democratic Party has actually turned their back really on the Black people in order to cater to really the corporate class, the owner class.
Yeah.
And it continues to happen because, it's just, that's how you get a Jim Clyburn. That's how you get a Hakeem Jeffries. He's a big one, someone who comes out and says that he's unapologetically, supporting Israel and says that he considers Brooklyn to be like the Israel to be the sixth borough of New York. Hakeem Jeffries' uncle, who was very close to Hakeem, the exact opposite of Hakeem, knows exactly what was happening to the Palestinian people. And Hakeem Jeffries pretends as though all of a sudden, once he got high up, all of a sudden he don't really know this man. He knows exactly who this guy is. That was his uncle, and his uncle spoke out in support of the Palestinian people. And so did Hakeem Jeffries back in the day. But Hakeem said, if I want to move up in this political ladder, I'm going to have to break away from this and support Israel. Hakeem Jeffries is another Black boule.
Mm-hmm. What about Van Jones? Is Van Jones part of the Black boule as well?
I would put him there. He was another one. We saw the video where he was speaking out against the corporations and all that stuff back in the 90s. And he said, if we're not going to push back against them, then we might as well just get a haircut and put on a suit. And that's exactly what he ended up doing.
Exactly.
So it just is all about money. Like they knew, like I could have a much more comfortable life. And come on. Who else? If Jeff Bezos gives you $500 million? You don't get that just because you were doing a good job.
Mm-hmm.
What were you about to say?
No, I was asking what you were going to say.
Oh yeah. It's just sort of sad that after the 1980s, it's almost like when Ronald Reagan just came in and just shut down all sense of revolutionary spirit. Like the only political thought that was allowed to exist was to be a somewhat left center, very bourgeois oriented political thought. Like we could not go back to the socialism and communism and Marxism that was very prominent in our revolutionaries. And now we have the Overton window for even Black political thought has shifted to the right over time. And I can't help but think that is like by design, that we're here sort of arguing between, well, not us, but the sort of the Black misleadership is arguing in favor of a benevolent white supremacist versus a mean white supremacist. And it's a very, very sad devolution.
100 million. I'm sorry. Thank Denise. 100 million. But still, they just don't give that out to anybody. But you know what? You mentioned Ronald Reagan. That's when neoliberalism came in. And so it was like turn away from revolutionary thinking and just hope for neoliberalism. Oh, and by the way, I have a slogan that's going to help you guys here. We're going to say, make America great again, which is what Ronald Reagan said. That was not Donald Trump who first said that statement. And then he also talked about trickle down economics. So he convinced the American people that, yeah, all these people have the money at the top, but don't worry. it's going to trickle down to you. Obviously, we know trickle down economics was a myth. It does not work. But this is a big part of the problem, the neoliberalism. And this is where a lot of people have chosen to move. You have a picture there in that article of Charlemagne the God. He also has moved that way. A lot of people may not know this, but Charlemagne the God was my best friend's neighbor when I was in college. A lot of people don't know that. He lived next door to my best friend. This is when he worked at the local radio in South Carolina. And then I still remember the day when he called her and told her that he was going to go work. He was going to be moving to New Jersey because he was going to go work for the Wendy Williams show. That's when Wendy Williams was still radio before she got the television show. And I can tell you, there's been a lot of change. Now, this is not to say that people are never going to, change their mind or whatever, but the rhetoric that is coming out right now, and I'll bring this up, a perfect example. If you make the statement that you're upset with Joe Biden, you think he should drop out, then you turn around the next week and you go on to CNN and you say, well, yeah, I mean, I'm still going to support Joe Biden. That means somebody got to you. That means someone tapped you on the shoulder and said, Charlemagne, can you please come back because you have like the biggest radio show in the country? Can you come back and help tell the Black people that you're going to support them so they'll still come out? So you get people like Charlemagne the God. What's the other girl's name? Angela. That's Angela in the picture.
Angela, yeah, right.
Yeah, you get them to try to usher in the Black people to continue to support the status quo. So one of the greatest tools of white supremacy is to use other Black people against you to do it. And that's exactly what they're doing with people like Charlemagne and people like Angela. You could throw Tiffany Cross in there too. This is what they do. This is why you don't see voices like Jaybe or Katie or Nick or Rome or CJ. This is why you don't see any of them on CNN. When you have a group of Black people actually hosting political shows and we cover news, instead of bringing those voices on, and even Breonna Joy Gray, they won't bring her on either. They only brought her on when she was Bernie Sanders' press secretary. I don't think they'll bring her on again. But the thing is this. You won't bring on Black people who are actually doing political news. You bring on someone who co-hosts for the Breakfast Club, which is a hip hop news show, and ask them their opinion about politics in this country. And that is on purpose, people. Everybody got to wake up and see it. That is on purpose. They're not going to bring on these other voices because they know what we are going to say. So they bring on someone who doesn't know as much about the political space. And I don't want anyone to tell me that he does know a lot about the political space, because if he did, he wouldn't allow people like Vivek Ramaswamy and Nikki Haley to sit up there on the Breakfast Club and not push back on those bullshit talking points that they have. He don't push back on it because he still want to maintain access. And then two, I honestly think he has not looked deep into it. So these are the people who are still embedded in the neoliberalism and are still a part of the Black misleadership class.
Charlemagne, you better watch out what you say, or you're going to get that tap on your shoulder. You're going to get that tap on your shoulder.
These people sold out. These people millionaires, man.
Oh, yeah.
And they're also, they want to limit our sense of political action to just voting as well. They want us to be limited to just voting and tell us that we can vote out fascism, that we have to come out to vote, that registering to vote is very important, and they leave it at that voting is just the only political action that we are allowed to participate in. They might be happy with some social actions here and there, but if you start advocating post-duopoly, you start advocating for actual leftist ideals and policies and ways to function in society, they're there to shut you up, because the people that they're holding water for will never get to that point. So they get you into thinking we just have to vote, and we can only vote, and we have to vote for these nice people here because they acknowledge that slavery is a bad thing.
You'll never see them bring people on to talk about mutual aid and organizing. Oh.
I wanted to bring some attention to this as well, because I love you wrote the hell out of this article, Katie. I would just want to start off here. It says the idea that the Democratic Party is pro-Black because they tolerate Black capitalists and imperialists is the crux of the Black liberals' inability to change them. The Black liberal isn't much different from the Black conservative in this manner. Both cower to power. However, one has completely abandoned community and hyper-focuses on assimilation into the capitalist culture of the West, while the other displays compassion for the community. I would say like a surface level compassion, but has little critiques for the system that causes our plight and limits the vehicle for positive change for said community to voting against Republicans. They both essentially tell the community our choices are being eaten by either a wolf or a fox. Although they have little to no criticism of capitalism and imperialism, it is the Black liberals' understanding of how our system hurts our most vulnerable, yet consistently advocates for us to put our political power behind one of the protectors of said system that is almost sinister. That was beautifully said, Katie. And that's part of this article that you wrote about Black liberals. And I say beware of them. But you want to comment on that, please?
Oh, me?
Yeah. Oh.
I gotta head out because I do have to prepare for Maurice.
Okay. I'm sorry. What are you talking about this evening?
Maurice Carney is coming on. He's co-founder of Friends of the Congo. So he's going to come on to talk about the genocide in the Congo. And then I also have a couple of residents in actually from Roxbury neighborhood in Boston where the rec center was just taken over. They're also going to come on too. So busy night tonight.
Okay. All right. Be sure to see Sabby Sabs in 57 minutes. So go to their channel. Take care, Sabs.
It was nice meeting you.
You too.
So as far as that article is concerned, if you would like to, you can comment just a little bit on that before we head out.
Yeah. That was another one of those very personal type of articles. I live around and amongst a lot of Black liberals that are very, they have good hearts. They want good to happen, but they are just so, their political imagination is just so limited and small that, it requires a little bit of tough love to open their eyes to, we got to look outside of just the immediate stuff that hits us in the face. I just read one of Kwame Ture's speeches called "The Dialectics of Liberation," and he points out that we can't focus on ourselves as individuals because our plight is not just an individual plight, and that because we can't do that, we also can't look at our enemies in an individual basis. We can look at individual racism and easily point it out. Donald Trump said Mexicans are rapists. That's racist. We can point that out. We get mad at that all the time. But Kwame Ture also mentions that if we could look at the overt actions, we need to also look at the covert actions, that the systemic actions that are killing us. Like said, homelessness. We are heavily overrepresented in the homeless population, in both individuals and in families. And regardless of who's in charge, who says that, I think a Black guy can be president, like that doesn't mean anything if you're still going to leave the bulk of us behind. And that's what I want people in my circle to like grasp. This isn't just, we can look at some mean person and point at that mean person, and then that just solves everything. We have to look at the more cunning person that is systemically killing us and allowing us to be killed. Mm-hmm. And once we have the understanding of that our enemy is not just some overt racist, but a covert racist system, then we should be able to galvanize together and actually progress. So that's was a very big motivator for why I wrote the article and how I wrote it too.
All right. Thank you so very much for that. It's very nuanced and very well written, well thought out articles that I definitely encourage everybody to read. If you guys need to, I will send you guys, put it in the chat. It's also in the description down below, the link for the Chronicles for Black Political Power by Katie Lewis. This was just there's a plethora of them now that you can find. I'm sure you have another one in the works right now, so it's coming down the pike soon, right?
Yeah, I've been pretty busy.
Yeah,
cooking things up.
I can tell. So this is going to be going on. Just to let everybody know. Also, what do you got going on this weekend that you're doing specially for your community?
Yeah, so my birthday was actually yesterday,
Happy
and
birthday.
thank you. And I was inspired by Rome. I'm not gonna lie, because I know with his tour for the poor, he gives back a lot, and I wanted to basically do that as a not just for a birthday celebration on Saturday. I wanted to be a more consistent thing, hopefully a monthly thing. But I myself, I've already got all the materials. I'm just going to cook a healthy meal, somewhat healthy. I have chicken, rice, the vegetables, and some beans. I'll be cooking all that on Saturday, and then later on in that afternoon, myself and a couple people who have volunteered, or who have offered to volunteer, we're gonna set up and luckily, since we don't have the same restrictions that Orlando has with feeding people, we're just gonna set up at a park and just invite people to come eat, because I'm pretty sure not a lot of folks out there have been able to get a warm home cooked meal in I don't know how long. So that's how I'm choosing to celebrate my birthday and hopefully make that an actual monthly routine moving forward.
Nice, very nice. So this is what people are doing. And I would like to invite anybody that's watching. Could you be doing what Katie is doing or something similar? Or are you great with the computers? Or are you good at sewing? Or are you just great at driving, and helping people out in that way? Mutual aid can be to help out people, especially people who are doing what they can in your area to help build dual power, help them out as well. And so that we can actually be more well equipped to do it. So I encourage people to follow Katie's example as well. And you're doing some great help with us here in the Orlando chapter on the ground. And, we're coming up with another action soon. So we'll be doing that. And while I'm talking about this as well, we're also raising funds for our mutual aid that we're doing here in Orlando. So if you guys would like to, you guys can donate via Cash App or $Orlando RBN. We're doing this primarily for grocery gift cards and toiletries. So if you guys can help out with that, it's deeply appreciated as well. Also, just want to give a shout out to all the patrons on Patreon. For you guys, we would not be able to do this type of work. So thank you so much for the work that you guys do. And also, just wanted to, if you don't mind, do you mind if I go through a couple of chats before we head on out?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So one of the things I wanted to do is I wanted to go to the chat here. See, this is from Rumble. Promise Air says, yes, Boule are complete sellouts to white supremacy. They attack other Black people. They destroy anyone with white. The white man tells them to. No talent, backstabbers, tricking, or I think it's tricking $4. So, yeah, agreed. So
They didn't start out that way. Well, maybe they did, but they were a little bit more helpful back in the day.
Yeah, helpful back. Yeah. That's the thing, is a lot of them, were more revolutionary back in the day, but it seems like as the system continues, then they leave those revolutionary roots and then they adapt to the system.
Mm-hmm.
Old Crow says, I wanted to see Color Purple and my wife said, no, babe, this isn't a movie for you, and told me it was a musical. I literally watch all Taraji. think you should literally watch all Taraji. Yeah, thank you so very much for that. Let's go. I need to go to the rock band too. Jacqueline says, can Biden realistically be described as benevolent white supremacist? The white supremacist part, yes. The benevolent part, not so much.
I probably should have put quotations behind benevolent, but it's because he has that, for some reason, people get that aura of that sweet old man. And like, apparently his genocidal stuff is excusable to people because he does it with a smile on his face. He's got that old, even though he's not working class at all, he's got that working class feel that people just trust about him. I don't fully understand it, but I get that when you compare him to Donald Trump, who's more bombastic and just like out there, not a pretty representation, very eloquent. They just I think that's why I say, he's the benevolent white supremacist versus the mean white supremacist. But I in no way believe Joe Biden is in any way benevolent at all.
Of course. Thank you so very much. Traveler's Wolf says trickle-down economics is akin to urination. I agree. That Cookie says conservative Americans are very upset they can't make America straight again. Dylan Mulvaney is nearly bankrupt. Dylan Mulvaney nearly bankrupt Bud Light. Oh, gosh. Leroy says conservative Americans are very upset they can't make... Wait. Oops. Okay. Oh. Leroy says Charlemagne was also accused of SA. Makes sense that he tiptoes around some good thing and says some good things, but never commits. He's afraid that information will be used against him. That's also another thing, because to me it feels like if he says the wrong thing, they're going to Epstein client list him.
Mm-hmm.
That's honestly what I think. So yeah.
I'll definitely make you keep your mouth shut.
Yeah, he should, you can keep his hands to himself.
Yeah, you need to. Wouldn't be in it.
Marvin Vargas says, like the way RFK Jr. flipped on Palestine war, he is now Shmuley Botiach student. Agreed. And Sir Max Blake says, the best people on alternate media. I'm not black, but I love them. Truthful and brave. Oh, thank you. Appreciate it very much. And social emotional learning with Dr. Nani says, well, if anyone pays me to lie, Jaybe, I promise to pay all your medical bills with the money. Thank you so very much, Dr. Donnie.
If you're gonna get something from the empire, then you at the very least you could do is use what you got against it as much as you can. Because there's some people that just take it and don't do nothing, and that's a waste.
Mm-hmm. This is from T-Day7 says, a wise woman gave me some advice that changed my life. Everyday people tell you who they are. Stop listening to what they say and watch what they do. Their actions tell you who they are. And so this is a great point, especially when it comes to a lot of the people who we consider leader or who are considered leaders in the Black community. I think that we should just look at what they do and then deem them worthy, either worthy or unworthy through their actions. Absolutely. Let me go to the Rockfin really quick just to get some of the comments from there as well. Do. Ew. I say Jerome in the house. I say Jerome in the house. Watch your mouth. All right, let's go. All right, so here, thank you so very much to Chazik Pinto for the tip on Rockfin. Says, is there a Black community that shares with white podcasts? Chazik Pinto. Look, whatever you're saying, first of all, we are talking maybe you're not familiar with what we talk about here on the Sabby and Jaybe show, but on the Sabby and Jaybe show, we typically talk about a lot of things that are more pop culture and implement that with class on here. And race and class are intertwined. Some people may say that or not, but they absolutely are, because if you look at, when it comes to housing, healthcare, education, and many other different factors, and then you factor race into it, it also shows that we are typically at a lower class. So therefore, yes, that is how it goes. But thank you so very much for the tip on Rockfin, and also thank you for the comments on Rockfin as well. So we're going to get going because we're a little bit over, but some parting words, KD, and I just want to thank you so much for coming on. This is your initial showing on RBN, but as far as the Black leadership, what do you say as a solution to our audience for those of us who may be feeling disillusioned with the leadership that we have at present?
Well, I would say to be the leader that you want to see. I not to toot my horn like all that much, but I got tired of being told that this is how we are supposed to move, and you can't really do nothing about it. Like there's a big, oh well, what are you gonna do type of attitude amongst a lot of Black people in my circle, and I didn't like that, so I decided to take that step and learn and develop my beliefs and my core values, and then I just expound upon that and then take action. I mean, of course, it's easier said than done, but if you don't like the leaders, the most immediate solution is to be that leader.
Thank you so very much for that. So with that, just letting you guys know, on my channel, if you guys have not already, I'll be having coming up, I'm reading the new book of Water in the Spirit. So this is The Ritual, Magic, and the Initiation of Life of an African Shaman by Maladoma Patrice Some. He's an author from Burkina Faso, so I'm reading that. Also on my channel, if you guys have not, I'm also reading The Will to Change, Men, Masculinity, and Love by Bell Hooks. So we're implementing that and connecting basically the issue of patriarchy with capitalism on there. I'm reading that one. And then also I am finishing up the reading of the book Laziness Does Not Exist by Dr. Devon Price. This book has been very eye-opening for me. So if you guys have not, I also read this on my channel as well. I'll be getting into reading for that. Also be doing news stories later on this week. And just to share with you guys what is coming up Saturday, I actually have a special panel I'll be doing this Saturday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And like I said, about talking about really identity and how it intersects with class, we're going to be doing a panel based on LGBTQ. So on my channel, I'll be doing that. We're going to be doing an LGBTQ plus summit panel. We're talking about housing, healthcare, education, peace, workers' rights, and immigration. So I cannot wait to have this panel. We're going to be doing this, and it's going to be something of a first on my channel. So if you guys would like to, you guys can also tune in to that on Saturday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I just want to thank you guys for coming in and watching along with us. Thank you so very much to KD. Just again, his Substack is also linked in the description below if you guys would like to watch that as well. And thank you so very much. So I'm going to share this picture really quick. This is in honor of Black History Month. I just wanted to share this, and we'll close it out. Thank you so very much. KD, you have yourself a wonderful evening. I'll text you later.
Thanks for having me on, man. This was great. I appreciate you.
Definitely, definitely. And please return very soon because I can't wait to have you back on again.
Of course.
All right. So let's me share this. Happy Black History Month, everybody. Oh boy.